This video is going to demonstrate installation of the Bandwidth Manager Installer image. Whether you're upgrading a machine to version 8, installing a demo to test with, or building a new software appliance, you're going to need this image. This image is a base FreeBSD system with some utilities required to license the system and to access our repositories to install software. At this point, I assume that you have downloaded the image, you have unzipped it, and you have copied it to the machine where you're going to build your USB. I've copied the image to this directory, and I'm going to be using the Bandwidth Manager disk util to burn the USB. First, I'm going to show you a few things about the image file. Image file is just a copy of the USB byte for byte. So disk util here shows that we have ADA0 is a hard drive and DA0 is a USB. Now you could literally copy the image file to the disk and it would work. This command, I've tried this and it works. The traditional way to do it is with DD. Now if you have any Unix system, you have DD. DD is really just an organized copy. You would specify the input file equal Bandwidth Manager Installer .image, output file equals dev .da0, and you can specify a block size of 1 million. Now on Linux or a Mac, the output file would be different and you'd have to figure out what the disk device is. The problem with DD is that it doesn't provide any feedback and it takes a long time. So you really don't know if it's working or not working or whatever. Disk util allows you to burn a USB. You're really flashing it, but we call it burn. And it will provide some feedback as to the progress. Once you start getting some pound signs, you know that it's working, and it's time to refresh your coffee. This is going to take quite a while, at least 10 minutes. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause this video, and when it finishes, I'm going to boot the USB on another machine, and then I will continue with the installation. Alright, I booted the image from the USB, and I took a picture of the screen because it was really the only way for me to get it in here. I just wanted to show that it runs DHCP and it displays the interfaces and the address that was assigned on the screen. So I don't really like working on the console. It's not in a place that's very comfortable. So you can take this address and you can run the installer from a terminal. This is actually running the installer. Well, we can run it from a terminal. It's telling me there's no disk. I need to insert a disk, and then I'm going to come back on a terminal and we can start the installation. Okay, I'm now on a terminal and I'm going to access the system using the address that was assigned by DHCP. This might be pretty slow because remember it's running off of a USB. Just run the installer. Select the disk. We're going to build an EFI disk and it goes right into it. It's basically copying an entire appliance to the disk. It's a fairly lengthy process, and at some point I'm going to edit the video so you don't have to watch the whole thing. Okay, it's done now. It's asking for the boot disk. This is the disk that's going to go into FS tab. In this case, it's ADA0. We are going to configure the network. And it's showing you what interfaces are up. We're going to configure IGB0. Let's use an address other than 100, just to show that something has changed. Use 99. Same mask. Gateway is .1. We'll use Google, and we'll call it the Bandwidth Manager Demo. Use these settings. We are not going to configure bridging at this time. So we're done. I'm going to shut down this machine. And then I'm going to pull the USB and I'm going to reboot from the hard drive. Alright, the machine is now booted from the SSD that we just created. I'm going to access the machine using the address that we configured, .99. Alright, now I'm going to run Bandwidth Manager Setup. Bandwidth Manager Setup is going to create a MySQL database, create the Bandwidth Manager database and configure it, allow us to change passwords and configure the bridge. It's now creating the MySQL database. Don't worry about these messages. It's not really designed to work from a script. When it's done, it will display the databases that it created. Hopefully we see ET Bandwidth Manager. We're good. We're going to now change passwords for the root and the admin user. We are not going to configure the network, as we've already done that, and we are going to configure bridging. Now, note that IX0 and IX1 are down. I have a bypass card in here, so plugging one in won't help. You can plug it in so you can see which interface is which. I'm going to just set IX0 as my outside interface and IX1 as my inside interface, and I'll figure it out later. Prints out the rc.conf file. We haven't configured networking, so nothing should really change. We can take a look at the bridge startup file. That will be called on boot. That looks good. Now we're going to check to make sure that the web server is running. We see that Apache processes are running. We access the server with a browser, and we see that it's pointed to the right place. The splash page is telling us that it's ready to install. So now I'm going to make sure I have access to etinc.com, which I'm going to need to request a license, and I do have it. So now we can use the Bandwidth Manager license utility to request a license. Why do we need a license? Well, in order to access the repositories, you're going to need a license. We're going to use the request license command, and you're going to need a customer ID, which is basically your account number. If you're an existing customer, you have an account number. If not, you're going to have to create an account, and I'm going to show you how to get the account number. I'm already logged in here. Go to the account tab, and you'll see the account number on the top. 13122 is what I'm going to use as my account number. I just created this account. Bandwidth Manager license. Request license. 13122. And the server responds telling us that it's received the request with a ticket number. Make note of the ticket number. You may need to use it as a reference if you have any questions. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to create a license, and then I'll come back and we can install the software. Alright, I'm back. We can check the license now. Make sure it's there. Demo license is available. So we are ready to install the software. We're going to do that with Bandwidth Manager Upgrader. We're going to use the get upgrade command. It's smart enough to know that you have a demo license, so it will install the demo software. It downloads all the packages, and about 10 minutes later, it will be done. Okay, so we're going to check the status. At this point, the software is installed. However, we are still running the installer driver. The software we've just downloaded has not been installed, at least the driver hasn't. So we need to reboot the machine in order to load the demo Bandwidth Manager driver. I'm back on the terminal. We're going to log back in. Check the status. Make sure the driver's loaded. And we are running the demo driver, version 8. Notice the Bandwidth Manager is not running. We're going to change the GUI password. Change it to foobar. Now we can access the GUI. Should be able to log in with that password. Foobar. And we are in. This is the GUI. Now you notice the Bandwidth Manager is not running. Normally that will be started from a script. At boot time, we're going to start it manually. Next refresh will show that it's running. Now the first thing we need to configure is the path. We need a path for the Bandwidth Manager to monitor traffic. It's going to be the same as the bridge. So we're going to name it Bandwidth Manager. We're going to set the outside interface to IX0, the inside to IX1. Save it. And now when we click on, we see some traffic. We see the path is created, but there's no traffic. And the reason there's no traffic is because we have a bypass card in this machine and the bypass is closed. So we're going to start band bypass D, which will also be started at boot time. We see the bypass is open and the links become active. And now when we go to path, we see some traffic, some hits. So we know that we're working. And that's about all I'm going to get into in this video. There's going to be a GUI overview video. Keep an eye open for that, where I'll get more into the specifics of how to use the GUI and what all the tabs do.